All right, I should have my microphone turned on. I should have the camera up and running. Hey guys, how you doing? This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming back at you with another Wargaming Wednesday live stream. I've got a lot of little projects that I'm going to complete today. I want to just knock them out, get them out of the way so they're not on my list anymore. And one of them is to eat my oatmeal right here. All right, so bear with me. I didn't get a chance to eat. I just took some packages out to the mail, and I just got back, and it's really hot outside. I got the fan going. You can probably hear the fan blowing. Yeah, so just bear with me while I finish this. Go get a snack, get a drink, get ready to sit back and relax and listen to me rant about Napoleonics today. I think I'm going to be ranting about Napoleonics till the end of time. Actually, that's not true. But because I'm writing my rules, and once they're written, then I can just stop ranting and just start like promoting. Hey, how about that? I don't plan on selling these rules. I'm really writing them for myself. But when I'm finished, if I think I've got a good, if I think I've got something worth putting on the market, then I might do that. But I don't know if I'm going to do that. My tea is almost empty. Yeah, a couple of swigs left. I might have to transition to some fruit juice. Oh my gosh. So, how's everybody doing? How are you guys doing? I assume you guys are doing okay, or you wouldn't be here. You'd be dealing with whatever was making you not okay. Sometimes I'll end the show with some politics, or sometimes I'll start the show with some politics, and then we'll transition into why you came here, because you didn't come here to listen to my politics. But I just want to say the two most recent publicized Supreme Court decisions, the one about not being able to infringe our rights on carrying a firearm, and the one about taking the government's control, the federal government's control, away from the states. I appreciate both of those rulings. I think those are both steps in the right direction. All right, I've said my piece. Moving on. Speaking of which, I've been thinking about getting a new AR-15. And actually, either that or a 9mm handgun, because I don't have a 9mm handgun. I've been thinking about it quite a bit. 45s are starting to just hurt my wrist. I just want to... I'm limp-wristed. considered compromising and going to like a 40, but I said, nah. With the cost of ammunition and everything, I think 9mm might be the way to go. Okay, enough said. I'm almost done with this. Okay, looking at my table, you can see these 18mm Napoleonics cavalry back there. Those are Spanish. Spanish militia. They're kind of like guerrillas. All the research that I've done, it looks like most of them are guerrillas. And some of them wore different uniforms. It wasn't really a military. It was basically all volunteer kind of stuff. Okay, I'll be back. Let me put this away. Oh, yeah, I can do that. Ooh, I can do that. Oh, yeah. I'll do that. Hopefully I didn't mess everything up. Okay, and these are actually a commission. From one of my customers, and I need to prime these. I'm not going to do them today on camera. This is something I'm going to work on off camera, so don't worry about any of that. I'm just getting them out of the way. I considered getting them out of the way last night, but before I went to bed, to prep for today. But I thought to myself, I can just do it today. I'm going to have all kinds of time. And then I realized I ran out of time. Had to ship some packages. Okay. Out of the way. Clear my table. All right, now these guys are my personal. Everything I'm going to work on today is going to be my personal projects, just to, like I said, clear my agenda, clear my book. And these are my limbers. And as you know, if you're following my channel, you probably know this already, but I'm transitioning. Well, I'm not transitioning. I'm rebasing, really. Okay, I'm rebasing them from their 100. You can see where the horses and the limber were. I am moving away from these 100mm. 100mm bases, and I'm switching over to an 80mm base. And I still think that looks good. I think that length of base with these horses, I think that looks really good. I think the 100 was honestly probably just a little bit too long. So I shrank it down to the 80 where it belongs. And I mean, it probably should be a 60. I mean, to be honest, it probably should be a 60. But I am not going to well, I guess I could do some 2-horse limbers. It would have been easy to do some 2-horse limbers. But since I had 4-horse limbers, I'm putting them on 80s. I think, okay, if that's 6, yeah, it would be like cut through the rump or right behind the driver there. That would have been a 60 millimeter limber. So I easily could have dropped off 2 horses and that would fit on a 60 with no problem. And really the limber, it's what's the word? It's more of a token, more of a status piece than it is a game piece. You know how you put disorder and shaken and routed and all that kind of markers down? Well, all this is a token that says limbered. You know, you put it down on your artillery. It can't. I don't think I'm gonna make it a combat piece. I think the limbers are going to be picked up and put off the table when not in use. And then when in use, pick them up and put them on the table. Or there's a chance that you could just put the limber behind the guys to simulate it is actually taking up some space on the battlefield. But I don't know. Probably. I don't know. Okay, that's the end of the tea. All right. A couple other things we're going to be working on. I've got some planes up there for my World War II project that I want to flock the base. I haven't even textured the base yet, so I'll probably get that out and texture it, because then I've got to wait for the texture to dry before I can do any flocking on that. I want to talk about buildings and occupying buildings. That's something I wanted to talk about today. My command and control, I pretty much have that down. Issuing orders, giving orders, I should say. I have the giving orders phase pretty much down in my head, not on paper yet. I have base size, number of figures per base, number of bases per different size battalions, etc. I've got that pretty much down. Now, the only thing I don't have down are base sizes for building templates. Now, there is an old way I used to do it, and would be to get just regular felt, you know, and with the felt, I would cut out town sectors in felt, and I would put those on the table, and then I would take the building model and put it on top of the felt. And like if I used brown felt, like really dark brown felt, or black felt, or maybe a gray felt, it made it look like pavement or the farm or whatever it is, the plantation or whatever, in that felt. And then I would go in maybe with some spare pieces, and I would, like fences or walls or hedges, and I would put them around the building, and then I would just drop the building on the inside. And what that allowed was smaller pieces of felt, because when you occupy the building, if the building is in the way, you could just move the building out of the way and then put your guys on the felt. And then what I usually did was put the building beside the felt, right? And so you could tell which building went with which town sector. So if you exited the building, you just pick the building back up and put it on the thing. I don't think I want to do it that way, because that's so jank. It's janky. It doesn't look good on the table. Remember, my number one priority, no, I guess it's number 1 and 2 priority, which are even, is to make this game fast, playable, but also look good. Looking good is important to me. It always has been. When it comes to miniature gaming, why do people play miniature games? Why don't you just play a computer game? Or why don't you just play a board game with chits? Why do you play a miniature game? You play a miniature game because you're on a sand table. You're on a three-dimensional battlefield. And if I went around, like, okay, there's this game out there. Gale Force 9 put out this game called Tanks, right? And they included tree templates and building templates, right? Okay. And you could put those on the table, and the way the game was, it's more of a tournament style game where you got like this 3x3 battlefield. It's specifically supposed to be a couple of tanks against a couple of tanks, and that's it, right? So it's one of those coffee table games. You sit down, just drive around, blow each other up. Okay. Well, they give you these buildings, but they're not buildings. They're flat pieces of cardboard. You put that on the table, and then you drive this three-dimensional tank around it. It just doesn't look right. It looks stupid. And I don't want to have a building on a piece of felt, which, when I used to play Command Decision, the building completely covered the felt, and then when my troops were to occupy the building, I would just move the building slightly off of the felt so the figures could sit beside the felt. And then if there was more figures going into the building, then I would move the building a little bit more and put more, and then move until the building was completely off and the felt was completely full. That I didn't like. For World War II, that was okay. The felt was the exact same size as whatever building you were using. So when you put the building down, it completely covered the felt. You didn't know. But as soon as you occupied it, you pulled it off. Boom. And now you got this building sitting out in a wheat field. And you've got these guys sitting on top of felt. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. So what I plan to do, and I've been planning to do this for over a year now, is I'm going to cut out some building grounds, right? The grounds template. So it's going to be the area surrounding a building at this scale, right? And I don't mean 15 millimeter scale. I mean the man to figure scale. If one figure represents approximately 25 or 30 men, then the building should not represent one building. It should represent at least 5 or 6 buildings, right? If not more. Maybe 20 buildings. No, but it's not going to represent that many. It's just going to represent an area inside of a built-up area. Okay, just let's look at La Haye Saint. Just using that as an example. La Haye Saint has a chicken coop, which is kind of like a corner building. It's got the farmhouse, right? It's got a fairly sizable farmhouse. It's got a stable. It's even has a gatehouse, which is not that big of a deal, but it has a gatehouse. It has a walled courtyard, and it's got a orchard in the front that's not walled, but it has garden in the back that is walled, right? So you've got this farm complex, right, of multiple buildings and walls and trees, actually. On the table, that's only going to be one building, right? It's not going to be 4 or 5 buildings, because at this scale, one building would represent the entire farm complex. So I plan to make a building, let me rephrase that, a built up area template, which would represent a bunch of buildings. And then I'm going to put a single building on the inside. I mean, I could do Le Saint with all the little buildings and stuff if I made the template big enough, but I don't want to do that because I'm doing an inch being about 75 yards or something like that. Le Saint would only be 2 inches wide, right? And it would be maybe 3 inches long. And a 2x3 would be perfect if I was pulling the building off of the template, right? But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make the template bigger, right, than it's supposed to be. And then I'm going to put the building on the inside. And then the bases, as long as they can stack up anywhere on that template, then you're in the building, basically. Now, I understand a standard convention is not even worry about any of that. And just put a building on the table wherever you want to put a building. And then when you deploy into the building, just take your bases and put their back up against the building and put them on all 4 sides and just scatter them around the building. And that way, if you do it that way, I can actually use 15 millimeter buildings. But because a 15 millimeter building is 1-to-1 scale with the model, it will be too big on the table. But what's okay about that is, and you see I'm going back and forth here. What's okay about that is it can be 1-to-1 scale because it represents more than one building. So that's the decision I'm quandering is, do I want to make a diorama piece with a fence and maybe a hedge and maybe a gatehouse that goes into a little courtyard, and the building is off in the corner somewhere, and then you can put figures inside the courtyard, and I can make these 6-inch by 6-inch templates, and they would be buildings. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know, because that template would be too big for the town sectors that I want to do, right? I only want to do like maybe a 3x4 or something. Maybe a 60 millimeter by 80 millimeter. I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. I'm gonna get some templates out and start working on that. Maybe later today. But I really do need to work on these figures here. While we shoot the shit about other things. Okay. I'm getting ready to put some static grass on these bases. You can see there's a little bit of rocks and stuff, but those don't ever show up because I didn't put very many. Those would be like a very rare opportunity. I could probably nitpick and pick those out and plant them in the Ulmer's glue before I sprinkle my static grass. I might do that. We'll see. I probably should put some more in there, but I don't want to overburden it. Okay, but I got a fan going right now, and it's blowing right here on my paint rack. It's directly straight down. Actually, it's probably coming out to here. But it doesn't matter. If the door is open, if somebody even walks by while I'm putting static grass on a model, just the wind generated by someone walking by will cause the static grass to go flying everywhere. I'm using 2 mil static grass. Teeny, right? So I'm going to have to turn that fan off so that static grass just doesn't go everywhere. Okay, give me a second. Fast, medium, maybe slow, and off. Let's see if that's the case. I don't usually use that fan very often. We have air conditioning. Yeah, it sounds like it's off. Seems like it's off. Okay. I got my Coke bottle glasses here. I've got my Flauk or flock, depending on how you want to call it. Now, if you remember, when I first did my limbers back in the day, okay, let's do it this way. When I first did these limbers on their 100 millimeter bases, I was in the middle of testing a bunch of different flocks to see which ones were the best. This is one of the best. But what that meant was that every limber had a different flock, which is okay. I don't care, but it just didn't look right when they're sitting next to each other. If they were on the battlefield in different areas of the battlefield, no one could tell the difference, or no one would care, and still no one would care. But what else it did was it helped out in determining like which limber was with which divisional artillery piece. But again, I'm not going to care about that. I mean, I might write it on the bottom, you know, because sometimes it's horse artillery limbers or foot artillery limbers, guard artillery limbers, just depending on which way you're going with your limber or whatever. Okay, so as you can see, I put a little Elmer's in my reservoir there, and then I give it about a 25% water, maybe more, and we'll stir it up. Yeah, so some of those flocks I didn't like. Some of the colors were off, you know. And I also did half my limbers in a medium brown and half in a dark brown to kind of see which would look better on the, with the flock. And basically I did a whole big test, right? A big test. Well, I'm not testing. I'm done with that. I'm applying flock. Now I considered putting flock down the center line and the sides to kind of give it that impression that they're on a road or there's ruts. But I want there to be, yeah, that'll work. Whoa, flick, Elmer's everywhere. Okay, let's take one of these rocks, place it right there in that Elmer's. Okay. Knock Bosch, Faller. These guys all do a really good job when it comes to 2 mil static grass and their colors. Nock, I think, is my favorite of all time. I don't have a label on this static grass, which is bothering me because this is one of my favorites. Okay. Now I shake it off and then I reapply. I shake it off and I reapply. Mainly to make sure that I get coverage over all that. Whoa, that's not going to be good. We'll get back to that one. I put a little glue on the back of the limber itself. Not good. I mean, it would have been okay. Grass would have been up there, and it's no big deal. You know, that's why I don't mind putting, you know, when I put the dirt on the base, you know, the ground texture or whatever, which I call dirt. It's okay if it gets on the pant legs or whatever of your model. I know you spent time painting it and trying to make it look perfect and washing and dry brushing and highlighting and all that stuff. But the mud accidentally hitting your model, don't go for it. Don't try to do it. But every now and then when a model has that mud on its knee or on its calf or whatever, it looks good. It makes the model look natural, like he's out in the dirt. And I don't have a problem with that. Especially the boots or shoes or whatever you're wearing. Oh, wait. One stone. I want to plant one stone. There you go. Nobody will ever see it. And they might. If they're looking closely, they'll see it. I'll see it. And I'm the one that I'm more concerned about than anybody else. Like I said, I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing this for anybody else. I thought about this the other night when I was painting my British. I was like, why am I putting all this detail? Why am I painting their buttons? You know, why am I painting the guy with blue eyes instead of brown eyes? You know, what am I doing? And then I thought about it. I said, well, the reason why you paint is for enjoyment. And the reason why you paint well is because you want your stuff to look good. No, I did not paint their eyes blue. I'm just kidding. But I didn't want them to look good. So I was painting as much detail as I could. And then I thought about it. I was like, well, am I in a rush to get these done yesterday? Do I need them done? Am I taking them to a convention tomorrow? It was like, no, I don't have to rush. I can take my time. I don't have to stress about it. But that's also not true. Unfortunately, that's not a true statement for me because I paint for a living. So if I take too much time on my own models, then I don't have models on my store for me to sell because I I'm falling behind on my painting or something. So yes, I have to paint fast, but I also want to paint details. So I'm kind of like, get them to a playable state first, and then a year from now, 2 years from now, or whatever, I can always pull the regiment off the shelf and add the buttons. You know, they don't have to be done today. They can be done next year. But I wanted to get them to a playable level. And if you watched my update and you saw those figures, I put the British on blast so you can see what they look like. I think they look good. I think they look really good. Now, I still am not sure if I want to make... Well, I pretty much am sure that I don't want to do large command stand bases. But I could. You know, it's one of those... It wouldn't be out of place. It wouldn't affect the game in any way. I just didn't want to do it. I don't know if that makes sense. But all right. I'm trying to concentrate on this because I don't want to paint the limber like I did on the British one. Okay. There's a rock. Now I noticed when I was dropping flock on the last one that I was actually dropping a few little rocks in there as well. And that was the intent, to put some little stones, nothing big, nothing drastic, in with this flock. Not like I used to do. I used to have like a 50-50 mix. Maybe not 50-50, but it just seemed like it was. Rocks every... Oh, wait. No, that was with my grit. I had like really fine ballast, a brown ballast as my grit. And then I added rocks to it so that when I sprinkled the grit on, the rocks would go on as well. And yeah, I'm not doing that this time. Okay, so now, the way I'm doing this is that works. Whoa. Yeah, the way I'm doing this is I put the glue down, like I said, and I leave a couple of ruts on both sides where the horses have trampled. And possibly if they were on a road, other limbers or whatever would have went up and down this road. So I'm not putting as much, I'm putting a little bit, but not as much grass down the center line, or I'm sorry, the two lines where the horses and the wheels would be. And then I'm flocking it, right? Sprinkling some static grass on there, shaking it off, sprinkling it, shaking it off, sprinkling it. And then the final step, and you're watching me do it, so you kind of get an idea. The last step is a little heavy. The static grass is left on there pretty heavily to soak into the glue to make it permanent, so it doesn't want to flake off. Okay, I think that's good. That looks like a good stone. So I'm not really going for like 100% coverage. I'm trying to go really light. I roll it in my fingers, letting the individual grass fall. And then when I shake it off, you could see that there are areas of Elmer's that are shiny, and you can see that shining through. And that's where you double check, double hit it. Hit it. And then the last layer, I do shake it off a little bit, but not like I did the first two layers. And I let it sit. I let it soak in. Okay. Plus, I like to take the grass right up to the model. So, you know, every model's got its own little base that allows it to stand upright or whatever. And if I put a little bit of that Elmer's right up to that base, and maybe even on top of the base, it'll give it a little additional adherence to the base itself, making so the model doesn't break off or whatever. Specifically, the limber, because the limber right now is only being held on by the two wheels. The way I did it was I glued the limber down and I propped it up using a paintbrush, a thick paintbrush. I propped it up so that the limber would be sticking up as if it was being pulled by the draft horses. Okay, that's the last little bit of that glue. That's good. All right. Yeah, so those Spanish irregulars, I'm kind of looking forward to doing them, but I'm also not looking forward to doing them because they're not in a uniform. So it's like, I don't take blue and say, okay, everybody's got a blue jacket, blah, 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 blah. No, because every single one of them is going to be different. I'm going to have to get like all my different brown colors and only paint like 2 or 3 with the same brown. Okay, me talking while I sprinkled the flock, I was noticing it was affecting the static grass and it was blowing away. I told you. So yeah, I got some static grass over there. I actually think, oh, that's not going to work. Okay, grassing your model is probably the most important step of finishing your model. It's probably the most important step. I know some people say priming or highlights most important, or base coating or whatever. But you can take a model that's painted really well with no grass And you could put it next to a model that's not painted very well, but has a good base, like somebody worked on the base, it'll look better. But now if you can combine the two, get a good painted model and grass, oh, you just hit the jackpot. Okay, let's not get it on the limber itself. Okay, there we go. Okay. These are not the end of my limbers, right? I've got 6 for each. I got 6 British, and which I think is all the British I need. I think I only need like, yeah, I think I need 6 British limbers, but I also need 2 Brunswick limbers, 2 Dutch-Belgian limbers for the Allied side, which I'm gonna have to just make them British, maybe with a different paint scheme. So yeah, I'm sure I could, if I dug deep enough, I'd be able to find some Brunswick limbers, but actually I found some Brunswick limbers for American War of Independence. I think I have those out in my toolbox, actually. 15 millimeter, which that's pretty cool, because like there were Brunswick in America. At that time, I think they were still calling them Prussians, or Hessians, or Prussians, or Hessians. I don't remember. But I thought about making those and then just using them in the Napoleonic period, because, you know, a limber is really just a limber. You know what I mean? But again, I'm not doing this just to get it done. I'm doing it because it's a hobby. And so I want to do it right. I don't want to do it half-ass just to get it done. You know, just to put miniatures on the table. Okay, well, okay, almost done. I got 2/3 of the, what, really? I didn't even go up the middle, huh? Okay. Well, I did now. Okay. Ooh, a nice stone. Right there. That looks good. Okay, the grass is starting to clump up. I'm going to have to raise my altitude a little bit and let it fall. Sprinkling. Okay. The last 4. It's kind of remarkable how cheaply made the French limbers are compared to the British limbers. The British put a lot of effort and engineering into their limbers. They got seats and they've got storage compartments for like gear and stuff like that. And the French just have a couple of pieces of wood nailed together. They have separate vehicles for ammo and gear and stuff like that. Wagons and caissons and stuff like that. I don't know. It's philosophy. Okay, why is this not going on here? What's going on? Okay. Ah, there we go. There's some big stones. Let's put that one right there. It feels like I'm running low, but I'm really not because most of it's on these bases, and as soon as I shake it off, that's going to double. Okay, when doing my British, I discovered something about, that was one reason why I wanted to bring up the British. I discovered something about the flags that I had. You guys probably shop around, you know all the different flag manufacturers and stuff like that. That's good. But I am personally using a lot of GMB for my 28mm stuff. And I thought it would be good to use GMB for my 15mm stuff because of the quality of their printing and the looks of their flags and the thickness of the paper, and there's a lot of reasons why I like GMB. There is a couple of reasons why I don't like GMB. GMB's flags are kind of generic. They look like they've got good texture and the paper and the printing is clear and all that, but when you really get down and look, they aren't. The 28s, yeah, they look great, but the 15s, I'm gonna have to say they're lacking. The 15s, the British for the 15s, the British flags, they look really good. Why? Because they're super small and you can't read everything. But when you get really close, the words are diluted of focus. So you can't read them on purpose. I guess because they don't want to be incorrect or inaccurate or whatever. which I get that. But I also tried some Fighting 15s. To be honest, I originally ordered 1 or 2 sheets of Fighting 15s because I was going to see if they were of any different, because I noticed they were slightly smaller than the GMB flags, and I was going to use them with my 10mm models. I had already used one of the Dutch Belgian, or one of the Dutch militia flags on my 10mm models, and it looked pretty good. But when it came down to it, I could read every word, right? I could see all the numbers. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then when I decided to switch to 15s, I was noticing that they had brigade packs. And I'll show you one here. No, I guess those are French. But you like buy 5th Brigade, and it gives you every flag you need. King's color, regimental color, everything for that brigade. And on some of those sheets, they even give you a little history of what that brigade did and where they participated and why the flags were the flags that they're using. And I really like the fact that it looks like, from appearances, initial appearances, it looks like the Fighting 15s company cared about which flag. They weren't just making some generic flag and saying it's this British regiment and putting the wrong battle awards on the flag and stuff like that. It was like they appeared to do some research, or in-depth research, I should say, not just research. It looked like they did their due diligence. Okay, that didn't work. Where you at? Okay, I was like, that stone didn't drop. Okay. Okay, so when I did these British, I was like, man, I really like the GMB flags. Let me take a look. And they're too big. They're about 2 to 3 millimeters too big for Old Glory standard poles. If you have a different set of standard poles, you know, they might work on other manufacturer standard poles, but the Old Glory ones, they didn't fit. But guess what? The Fighting 15 fit perfect. Which also led me to believe that they probably cared about the size of their flag. They didn't upscale it, you know, to make it look more impressive. They went with historically accurate. You know, it makes me believe that anyway. So what does that mean? Why am I saying this? I'm going to show you, because I got some flags right over here. I'm going to show you the differences. If I have any duplicates from Fighting 15 and GMB, which I do, that's what I've got over here is actually duplicates. If I have any duplicates, I'm going to sell the GMB flags. So if you're looking for some GMB 15mm flags, I got you covered. They look good. Don't get me wrong. They look really good. And on a table, you know, you're not getting down there and reading every word on a flag in 15mm. You know, that's ridiculous. And if you like flags to be just slightly larger than they're supposed to be, because you probably use your own standard poles, you know, you got some metal poles and you replace the ones you can always make your pole just 1 or 2 millimeters extra long, and then that GMB flag will fit on there perfect. All right, there we go. Sprinkle, 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 lightly sprinkle. Just like when you're doing your base coating, priming, I should say, you take multiple light coats, right? You don't just try to cake it on with the first coat. Well, some people do. But you'll tend to ruin the details of your model if you do that. So what I'm doing is light coats of flock. This is the last one. Okay. And we're going to let that sit for a minute, or 30. These little boxes, these little cracker boxes, have been a lifesaver for me. I have about 10 of them, and they're just perfect. I do everything in those. Okay, let's clean this brush. We're not really doing any painting today, so don't worry about any of that. So limbers. I have all the French limbers I already need, because I think I only need 5. I need the corps, the 3 infantry divisions, and pyre. Okay, actually I might need a 6th, which would be, well, pyre. Pyre is going to be horse artillery, and Kellerman or Lefevre, whichever one has artillery, that's going to be horse artillery as well. So really I only have 2 French horse artillery pieces that I need to do, I think. Maybe 3, but 2 limbers. And then the British side, I have the 2 Brunswick and the 2 Dutch Belgian limbers. So really, I only have like a total of 6 more limbers I need to do, and then all the limbers will be done for Quatre Bras. And I have them on order. I also have a game called Soldiers of Napoleon. I have that on order. That has been shipped. I got the UPS tracking number. I anticipate that being a week or so from now. I'm going to get it. Maybe I'll have it in by next Wednesday. If not, no big deal. I'm really only going to use it as kind of a idea factory or whatever. It's written by the same guy that writes Battle Group. I love Battle Group. Battle Group checks a bunch of boxes of my World War II gaming. I do a lot of World War II gaming, different scales, different rule sets. I was about to say different theaters, but that's really not true. I only do Western Europe. well, that's not true. If I go Navy, I do Pacific. Aircraft, I do Pacific. But when it comes to the ground, I do West Front. Hey, Charles. Good morning. Thanks for coming into the channel and listen to me. But okay, so I love a ton of different games. Spearhead. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Angriff. I thought was too complicated. It's a little bitty book, right? And it's probably not complicated. It's probably a very easy game. But I was 16 when I got into Angriff. So it was probably complicated because it was my first miniature game. That and System 7. Ooh, do you remember System 7? Oh my gosh, that was a Napoleonic rule set. Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing back then. And then I slowly got out of that, I got into board games like Squad Leader, Blitzkrieg, and Third Reich, and all those Avalon Hill games. But then I started getting really into the miniatures, and I got Angriff, and then I went to Tank Charts, which I felt was a lot easier. And then from there, I went to Command Decision. And Command Decision, super easy. I grasped everything. I knew what they were talking about. Everything, it flowed. The game was good. Everything was good, but it just didn't scratch every itch. And then I played Spearhead, hoping that it would scratch the itch that Command Decision didn't scratch. It scratched different itches. And then same thing with Battlefront, not the company, the game. There's a game called Battlefront. It was okay, but again, I think it was more about the artillery than it was about anything else. And all those games were fun, but they weren't. They didn't satisfy. They didn't satisfy me. And then I found, what did I say? Was it Tractics? I'm trying to remember. I played a game called Tractics, I think it was. I played a game called Operation Overlord. Operation Overlord took me out of Operation Overlord took me out of the mass battles, playing with divisions on a table, all the way down to man on man, right? And I was playing that in 1/72, which is, you're supposed to, because it's an artillery game actually, and that one was a really good game as well. And then there was another game out there, Face of Battle. I played Operation Squad, which it wasn't. I thought it was going to be like Operation Overlord, but it wasn't. Then Operation Overlord stopped selling their box sets, which I hated because I loved that box set, because you can get your templates and your cards, because it's a card-based game. But apparently Artillery just didn't want to keep going with that. They made a PDF version of it. I think you can download the PDF for free now, and it's called Operation World War II. So instead of just the Germans and the Americans, they included the Russians. right? I still think they need like British. And because it's Operation World War II, it could be expanded. I don't see a problem why it couldn't be expanded. I even played Warhammer World War II. I even played that. And no, that wasn't a good game because I played a lot of 40K and it just seemed like 40K with World War II uniforms. And I didn't like that. There's a ton of games. But they all, and Bolt Action, of course. Bolt Action was my most recent World War II game that I thought it scratched 90% of my itches. You know, it's a really good game. You can play Bolt Action in any scale. You can play it in 15 millimeter. You can play it in 20 millimeter or 28 millimeter. You can play it in 40 millimeter. You can play it whatever scale you want. You just have to modify the ranges. Well, you don't even have to do that. You could just not modify the ranges, and then it would be like if you played with 20 millimeter models, because I did that for a while. I played some Bolt Action scenarios with my 20 millimeter models that I used to play Operation Overlord with, and it worked fine, and the ranges worked fine, everything works fine. But it just had that hint of gamey. You know, like when you eat a deer, it's not a cow. You know, it has that gamey taste to it. And that's what Bolt Action had. It just felt like a game. And not a simulation, but it didn't feel like a war game. It feels like a tournament game or a competitive game, which when you play a game, you play to win. I get that. But you have to have some sportsmanship, you know, and when you start losing the sportsmanship element of a game because the game supports competitiveness, there's just something about that rubs me the wrong way, right? Especially when I'm trying to play a historical game. If I'm playing 40K, sure. If I'm playing Warhammer Fantasy, that's fine because those don't make me feel like I'm playing a historical reenactment of the Battle of the Bulge or whatever, right? Those just make me feel like I'm just trying to whip up on my opponent. It's like playing poker, you know. You don't play poker for fun. You play it to win. So there's something about it that it's a great game. The mechanics work. You can play scenarios, but the downside of it is, and this is the itch that didn't scratch, was the battles weren't big enough. You know, I'm looking at a platoon against a platoon. That's fine. That's okay. But I want a company or maybe a battalion against a battalion. That's what I wanted. And then I find this game called Battle Group. Battle Group is a man-to-man game. It can be played at any scale. And it has like a unique command system and a unique method of spotting and shooting. And I love the way the morale in the game works. There was just a lot of things in Battle Group that really scratched a lot of itches. It does have point values. You can make armies to be competitive, but it seems like, from my reading of that game and all the sidebars and anecdotes from the author, it seems like he wrote that game to be a World War II reenactment or simulation and not a competitive, I'm going to whip your ass game. I love it. I love it. Okay, so I've said that. I've come to my piece. Now, I've played a ton of Napoleonic games, and that's really what we're talking about today. I played, really, my very first go into Napoleonic was System 7. it seemed a little bit too board gamey. Yes, it's a miniatures game, but I only experienced it with tokens because when you got the original System 7 system, it came with like a counter sheet. You popped these counters out, and those were your units. Now, I could have easily, at the time, I didn't know what I was doing. Remember, I was 16 years old. I could have made bases and put 15 millimeter figures on those bases and cavalry and all that stuff. I could have really went to town, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I played System 7. I thought it was fun, but it just really wasn't my cup of tea. And then from there, Napoleonic wise, I think I made a big jump from that. I played Empire. Oh my gosh. I played Empire first edition, right? Their Empire, what is it up to like now? 4th or 5th edition? I played Empire, and Empire just came across to me as a bean counter game. I had to count beans. You know, I had to count my I don't know, it just felt maybe because I didn't know the rules. Maybe it's because someone else had all the miniatures and I was playing with their stuff. I just didn't enjoy it. So I really had a bad taste in my mouth with Napoleonics. From System 7 to Empire, I was really not sure if I love the uniforms and I love the strategy and tactics of the Napoleonic period. So I gave it a third chance. What did I do? I got Napoleon's Battles. Now, why did I get Napoleon's Battles? And why did I give it a third chance? Because it had that little logo on the side of the box, AH. It was an Avalon Hill, what do they call those things? Bookshelf game, right? I said, you know what? I love Squad Leader. I love Tactics 2, Blitzkrieg, Third Reich, Tobruk, a bunch of these other, what else did I play? Richthofen's War. I played a bunch of Avalon Hill games, and I said, you know what? This probably is right along my, that's down my alley. So I grab it, I play it. It comes with counters, and originally what I did was I took 15 millimeter miniatures and I glued them directly to the counters themselves. I flocked and based the counters. They work fine. They're really thick cardboard counters, and they're pre-punched and all that. So I knew I was getting the exact, and they even have the little men on the counter showing you where to glue the models and stuff like that. Because at Command Decision time, I think I was, not Command Decision, Napoleon's Battles, I think I was like 18 years old when it first came out. 18. No, that's probably not true. I was probably in the 20s. I was probably 21 when it first came out. Okay, and then I played the hell out of that game. I had every model needed for Waterloo in that game. So I had my British, my Nassau, my Brunswickers, Dutch Belgians, Hanover, Prussians. I had French, Old Guard, Young Guard, Middle Guard, artillery pieces out the wazoo, cavalry. I even had completed all those armies, and they were well painted. At the time. I'm better. I'm better now than I was then. But at the time, they were painted pretty well. I even started going into a whole nother army. I got some Austrians. I started with I said, okay, I've done all these. Let's get another army. And so I started working on Austrians. I got to a point in Napoleon's battles where I felt like I was undefeated. You ever play a computer game on easy and you feel like it's not really enjoyable because you're just destroying all your opponents? You play, but when you up the difficulty level and you make it challenging, now you enjoy the game more. Okay. So that's the way I felt with Napoleon's battles. And I'll tell you what my tipping point was. I went to a Historicon. I didn't bring any models. I figured I was just going to sign up for everybody else's games and I was just going to play. I love Napoleon's battles. I would play with Mike, and I played with Dan and Tom, and there was a bunch of other people that I played with. I played down in Nashville. I played a ton in Nashville, NashCon. I'd always get into the Napoleon's battles games because I really liked those set of rules. I found myself, when I was teaching other people how to play Napoleon's battles, I found myself teaching them how to win and not how to play. This was eye-opening for me. I was teaching people tactics and not game mechanics. I was showing them, because if you've never played Napoleon's battles, there are things you can do that will guarantee victory, right? It's like, and I would implement, and you know what? It's pretty much following Napoleon's doctrine, which is good. That's a good sign that the game allows you to use a doctrine that Napoleon used to win his battles, and you would win your battles. Okay. And I would teach people this. I would say, hey, Mike, if you do this and do that, you'll win the game. And one of the things that I told him was, don't even concern yourself. Don't even look at the objectives. It's not important, which that's a bad sign right there. I said, you got a mission, you got your scenario, you're playing your scenario, and they say this building is worth so many victory points, this river bridge is worth so many victory points, this town over here is worth so many victory points. Just ignore that. Don't even put that in your mind. It's not important. What you need to do are these things, right? And I would tell him, do this, do this, do this. You will destroy your opponent's army. And once that army is destroyed, guess what? You win the game. You don't need victory points. All you need to do is destroy your opponent's army. So just ignore, if there's a town on your left flank that you're supposed to go occupy, don't bother with that. It's irrelevant. Just go attack and destroy the enemy. And I say, do these things, and like how to attack, because I had specific ways to pin units and with infantry and cavalry and artillery, there are certain ways that you can position your men and you will destroy your opponent. And then always pin like 2/3 of the battlefield, and then take 1/3 of the battlefield and roll up the side and then roll down the flank, and you will win every time. You just got to decide which side you want to go at. And if you struggle to roll the flank, like if there's too much there, then just stop and roll the other flank. Just change direction. But I don't need to get into the tactics, but let me just say, I felt like I understood the game mechanics so well that it took me out of immersion. I wasn't playing a Napoleonics game anymore. I wasn't enjoying the scenarios, the missions. I was just crushing my enemy using the rules. And I hate doing that. I really don't like doing that. And it's been wearing on me. And we go to Historicon. And I said, oh man, they got this giant game. I haven't ever played a game this big, right? It was multiple tables, multiple players per table. The tables connected. There was gaps between the tables so that you could walk between them. But like this road ended here and then it started on the other table or whatever like that. And there was like 3 or 4 tables, kind of like the Leipzig game in Napoleon's Battles. It was a giant it might have even been Leipzig. I signed up for that game. I said, man, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to be playing against people that I've never played against before. You know, I understand the guys that I play with and what their tendencies are and stuff like that. And it's gotten, not stagnant, but I've gotten to the point where I win every single game. And that's boring. I don't want to win every game. I want to get defeated every now and then to keep me humble, right? And I'm not humble. I'm being very honest. So I sit down at this table, and it's me and a couple other guys. And Tom, he went with us, and Mike went with us as well. I think Mike was sitting next to me playing another one of the divisions. I either had a division or a corps. I don't remember. I think it was a division. And all I was concerned about was my table, right? Because we had other French players on other tables. And my understanding was there was some really rough ground over there, like swamps or something like that, that was going to limit their ability to attack the enemy. I don't know. I'm not on that table. We're actually not supposed to get up and go walk over there and see what's going on. We're supposed to sit at our table and know what's going on our table. Okay, which I think is really cool. And if I wanted to communicate with them in the next room, I would have to send a messenger. Also, I think that's super cool. I think that's great mechanics. I love that. So Mike and I think a third guy, I think we had a corps, 3 divisions or something. I don't really remember exactly. But I tell Mike, I said, like I tell you, ignore the objectives. I said, don't concern yourself with the objectives. Keep your units alive. That's the most important thing. Don't break your division. Don't get it demoralized. Move up and pin the enemy. That's all I'm asking you to do. I am going to roll the flank. And we are going to annihilate our opponent. And the third guy, I said, don't worry about what he does. It's not going to be important because he's going to be on your right. And if he moves up and engages the enemy and gets killed, I don't care. You stay alive because you're my pivot point, right? So you stay alive so I can pivot on you and crush the enemy. And he's like, all right. So we go in, and 4 hours later, I have not fired one shot. I have not, all my guns have been limbered. All my infantry have been in march column. Maybe not. Maybe attack column or whatever. I don't remember. It was a while ago. But I remember that Mike had moved up his troops, engaged. I think we were French and they were Russians, I think. And there was an engagement, and I was way off on the left side of the table, cruising along, unimpeded. And I got to a specific point where I was getting ready to just turn and come down the road. They thought I was going for that town that was over there or whatever. And again, as you know, I could care less about the objectives. So I knew this game was in 2 sessions. And I knew the first session was just going to be getting into position. Because it's a huge table, right? So I get into position, and then the time goes off. Blunk, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't even get to roll a die. Basically, I didn't even get to shoot him. All right, so Tom, another one of my Napoleon's Battles compatriots, he signed up for the second session, and he took over my division. And I was like, all right, Tom, I don't know, what you're going to be able to do or how this is going to turn out, but Mike, he's been pinning the guys and doing a good job. They're basically stuck in one place, and we're on the left flank, and we've gotten passed into the rear, so do what you can do. So I go play another game, right? It's another game session. Like 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, one and a half hours, somewhere in there, Tom comes up to me. I mean, why aren't you playing Napoleon's Battles? He comes up to me and he says, we won. And I was like, what? Yeah. Once the second session started, I took my division and I just destroyed all 3 boards. I just moved forward, destroyed them, moved forward, destroyed them, and just kept going. And at a certain point, their army broke and we won. And I was like, did you guys take any objectives? He goes, well, the other 2 tables were trying to take objectives, but it doesn't matter. We destroyed their army. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that you only had an hour and a half to play. That's, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. And he goes, yeah, you put me in the perfect position. This is what Tom was saying. You put me in the perfect position. All I had to do was just turn right and then just start crushing them, because they couldn't do anything, because Mike's division, which was now being played by another player, but Mike's division was kept them pinned and engaged, and they couldn't do anything about it, and they kept getting hit in the flank, and we just destroyed them. And a light bulb went off in my head that I have mastered Napoleon's Battles. I know that's being egotistical and cynical or being kind of self-centered or whatever. I get it. But that's the feeling I had, and it was demoralizing to me. It's like you've played those games that are like easy to learn but hard to master. Well, this was one of them. This was a game that was easy to learn and hard to master, but once you master it, it's like playing on easy mode, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to play on easy mode anymore. So I decided I want to change up. I don't want to play Napoleon's Battles anymore, and I found Black Powder. How hot's it out there? 100? 94? Okay.
The humidity is high. That stuff in the event.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we used to be in an organization called the Society for Creative Anachronisms. It's like a medieval reenactment study group, and you get to go out and camp out and stuff like that in medieval tents and wear medieval garb and eat medieval feasts and fight in medieval combat and stuff like that. And there was too much politics in this area for me. Not that I don't like politics, but when it became painful to go to these events, first of all, I'm paying money to eat and go and camp and taking a weekend off, and I'm putting myself through trouble, because you gotta shed all of your modern luxuries and live off the land and all this stuff. When you go to these events, you expect to have a good time, meet people, talk war stories and stuff like that. But when they come at you and they attack you, and they're constantly when there's two sides to the same coin, and like there's constant arguments over the way something should be done, or who did what to who when they did it, it just started to become burdensome. So I said, you know what, why am I paying this money and taking time off from my life? I'm just not going to do that anymore. But she still enjoys it, and she still goes and does her thing, and I guess doesn't involve herself with that. She's not really into I don't know. It's a point of contention with me, but we'll just leave it at that. So, so I found Black Powder, and Black Powder is a really good game, and it's a game for smaller units, because I'm normally playing with brigades, and not battalions. And once I started playing Black Powder and I started playing battalions, I started learning things about Napoleonic period that I hadn't known. Because my focus was at a higher level. I was previously with Napoleon's battles. I was looking at the entire battle. I was looking at positioning divisions and corps and the grand tactical flanking, and sounds like a postman's going by.
Yeah. He was on the other side a minute ago.
Yeah, so he's so the I learned quite a bit. I was not focused on battalions and companies. I was focused on brigades and divisions and corps, and I was reading about like Ney and why Ney did what he did, and Napoleon and Blucher and stuff like that. And I wasn't really looking at Foy and like, what is Foy doing and what is Bachelot doing, and why is this Nassau battalion doing what it's doing. But when I went to Black Powder and the battalion, it's a battalion level game, it triggered something in me that I had been lacking for a long time. I'm playing Napoleon's battles, and I'm playing it as, I guess, an army commander would be playing it.
Nothing for you.
Oh, okay.
A mortgage statement.
Oh. Okay, let me pull this over here so I don't forget. Oh, this isn't going to help. Okay, I need to go get a fight. This is Fighting 15 French, and this is GMB British. I need to go get some Fighting 15 British to kind of explain my thought on that, and we'll get into that in just a minute. All this right here is going for sale, but okay, so I'm like, my eyes just basically opened. I'm learning a lot about the battalion tactics and strategies and the units, individual units, because when you're putting together an army for Napoleon's battles, you're getting like 24 figures and you're making a brigade. And they say approximately each stand is approximately a battalion. And in that brigade, there will be cannons, and that's why it has a certain type of range. And basically, it's kind of more generic or watered down, if you want to call it, or there's a word for it, that everything is worked into the chart, right? And that lends towards playing a game, right? And I didn't want that. I didn't want, like, it lends towards mastering the game because it's just numbers. Units aren't different, they just have numbers. And when I went to Black Powder, the units are different. They have special abilities. They have unique qualities. They also have numbers, but the uniforms, I had to deal with like a Brunswick brigade in Napoleon's battles would just be 12 Brunswick models. Boom, you got a Brunswick brigade. And they could be anything. They could be lights, they could be line, they could be avant-garde, they could be whatever. But when you go with the battalion scale game, now I have to have light battalions, I have to have line battalions. I had to deal with the different collars and cuffs, the regimental colors. You have to worry about the avant-garde battalion, the Lieb battalion. You had to worry about the artillery pieces, which you really didn't even have to do as a brigade. You only had to deal with corps level artillery, right? So, or maybe division level artillery possibly. But it basically it opened a whole new world of Napoleonics to me. And I've been playing Black Powder for a while, but I run into kind of a stumbling block. It's not fast enough. It's still a little too slow. I'm sitting there with a bunch of players at a NashCon. We're playing Quatre Bras with Black Powder. We play for 4 hours and we barely get anywhere in the game. We get only like 3 or 4 turns into the game. To me, that is just too slow. So that's one reason why I want to write my own set of rules and get it to go a little bit faster. And it kind of, that whole Black Powder battalion scale, I like that scale because now I see all these different types of units and their different capabilities, and it's forced me to do research that I hadn't done before. I mean, I've done a little bit, but nothing significant. Let me get those Fighting 15s. I'll be right back. Okay, so This is actually, there's probably like a dozen sheets in here. You know, I've got a ton of different sheets. But let's just use this as an example. This first one. I'm going to use the first one as an example. And this top one has a unit on here. A unit. And this, so, okay. So these two sheets would, these two packs are needed to do what, if you wanted to do all of these, right? Because you only get 3 here, but you need this supplemental one. It's called a supplemental pack to add the 4th battalion to this. Okay. This is Fighting 15. The quality of the flags are very good. I mean, you can see, and I can pretty much read. They are clear. You've got this little tab up here that says Peninsula. This one says Peninsula. This one says Peninsula. This one does not say Peninsula. But it does say a bunch of other things. And then in the canton, it has what battalion it is, you know, where this one doesn't. Like this says 3rd Battalion, 1st Foots, 2nd Battalion, 44th. This just says 42nd, and this just says 92nd. Well, these are Highlanders, but okay. So you get this, right? You get this on a sheet, this sheet number 45. That's what you get. And then right here, it gives you a little history. You know, like the 5th British Division was a mixed British and Hanover formation and part of the Duke of Wellington's reserve. It marched to Quatre Bras on the 16th. Where it was heavily engaged, losing the equivalent of 2 infantry battalions. At Waterloo, it lost a further 2,900 casualties, 43%. Where it was deployed, it suffered heavy casualties from the Grand Batteries. And then Picton received 3 burials, 1 at Waterloo, then at St. George, London, and finally St. Paul's Cathedral. Kempt had a distinguished career after Waterloo, becoming Governor General of Nova Scotia in Canada. He died in 1854. Okay, whatever. So you learn a little bit. I thought that, and they go into some details about the people that were in these units, and I think that's really cool. I don't know. I just find that to be above and beyond, because they could have just sold that and then blank paper, right? But no, they give you that too. Okay, and then here's the, let's look at this. This is 9th Brigade. This is 9th Brigade. This has 4 battalions. This only has 3, right? But let's take a look. I'm just gonna look at the 1st Royal Scots, which is up here, compared to this. If I hold it side by side, you can see the size difference in the flag. You can also see the design difference in the flag. Something is not right. Okay, this top one is the Scots. This bottom one is the Scots. So I'm going to bring it across. Do we see a difference? They both say they're for the same battalion, but they're not. Okay, and then when you take, as an alternative example, this is the 44th, right? And this top one is the 44th. So I'm looking at the regimental colors. Okay. GMB Fighting 15, you can see there is a slight difference in size. And that slight difference in size translates onto the model that it's either covering up the hand or covering up the truck or the spear point, right? Now, GMB Fighting 15. I look at the canton, and I also look at the wreath. Big differences. And then the mascot that's down there, I think that's the Egyptian, I think it's the Egyptian, what do you call that thing? The Sphinx. Because I think this unit was actually in Egypt. But that's like a battle award or whatever. And then in there, you can see where it says the battalion. That's blank, right? If I was to look in this shield, you can actually see where it says 44 in Roman numerals. Where, what do you see there? You see blurriness. Nothing. But you can actually see the 44 in there. So, Fighting 15s just won me over. I mean, I really like the Fighting 15s. When it comes to the British. Okay. When it comes to the British. Okay. These are some of my Hanover flags. I've got a few others, but these are some of my Hanover flags from GMB. Hanover in GMB, and they admit it, they say, we don't know what the flags are supposed to look like. Okay. Okay, it looks like I cut those out already. Give me a second. All right, here we go. I guess I didn't need to pull it all the way out, but I did. Just going to slide it back in, just for protection. All right. Let's compare Hanover flags. Now, when you order Hanover from GMB, they've got 2 or 3 different packs, and the only thing that really changes is it's a king's color, which is like a big white one with really frilly edges, or colored. Well, the king's color looks a lot like that one, actually. And then, or colored colored flags. Now, this one specifically says, whoa, that is Kallenberg. That actually says Kallenberg. But these other ones, they say they're hypothetical. They've postulated or they guessed at what they should be. And then, but when you go to Fighting 15, and I've also noticed that Warlord Games, right? Warlord Games has the Hanover box set that you can buy. They have some flags in there. And those flags also say, these are hypothetical. We think these are correct. We're not sure. It's hard to tell, blah, blah, blah. So I think Hanover had a really poor history where they might not have even flown any flags. They might have just went to town without a standard bearer, but it looks better on the battlefield. You know, on the miniature table, you want to see flags. So, generic, and then in detail. This one's Verden, Lundberg, Munden, Osterode. These are all Landwehr. That's best. I think Vinky had Hanover. Oh, yeah, there we go. Yep, there's Vinky. You know, and then you got Griffhorn, Hamlin, Hildesheim, and Pine, which this is the penalty battalion. But look at that. You get this sheet, you get your 3 British, and you get your 4 Hanover Brigade flags. And you get a sheet like this for about the same price that you get a sheet like this. Yeah, and these, and you can see the flags are, these are not the same regiments, but I was just showing you the flag sizes. You know, you get the idea. That was the big point I was trying to make. Now, if you take these Hanover flags, these are smaller than those British. They wind up being almost exactly the same size as these, because the Hanover flags were actually smaller than the British flags. So, and these are smaller. Yeah, they're about the same size. So that's not a problem. But like this sheet alone, right? This 3rd Division, 3rd British Infantry Division, 5th Brigade, it had the 4 that I just put together and put on the channel. The 30, 32, 69, 73. Yeah, it had those. But it also has these 2. So you're looking at a total of 6 units worth of flags on one sheet. This one has 7 units on one sheet, where when you go like this, what are you getting? 3 units, and I think they're about the same cost. Excellent. Okay. French. The GMB French are as good as the Fighting 15. But when you go to Fighting 15 French, these aren't that good. These are too generic, you know. Yeah, like this one says, suitable for the 2nd and 12th Regiment. And when you go in there to look at the regiment, it says 2nd. So it's technically only the 2nd, even though it says suitable for the 2nd or 12th. And the reason why that is because the 2nd and the 12th had the same awards. Suitable for the 3rd, guess what? It's got 3rd. Suitable for the 4th, got 4th. But this says 5, 8, and 23. But when you look, it says 8. 6, 10, 24, 26, but the wording says 26. So they're good. They're good French flags. You get 9 on a sheet, which is really good. Line infantry flags. I think they have 2 packs of line infantry. I think there's another pack of light. Oh, that is light and line. There we go. But the problem is you only get 9. And if I was trying to do the 6th, the 7th, and the 10th regiments, hypothetically, if I was trying to do that, I would need 3 of these sheets. And then, and even then, I'm not getting the right battalions or the right regiments because there's only 1 number on there, right? So I would not recommend French Fighting 15s. I would recommend GMB if going with the French, and I would recommend Fighting 15 if going with the British. I know it comes with a little, you know, little research. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you guys out. Okay, finally, having said that, if you're doing like an 18 millimeter army, British Army, I would recommend getting the GMB 15s because they're just a little bit too big for 15s, so they might be good for 18s. Okay, I'll worry about that later. But these two sheets are going to go up for sale, and these GMB sheets are going up for sale because I have all of these in Fighting 15 already, and I don't need duplicates. I bought them because I thought I was going to use them, and then I wound up saying, no, I'm going to use the Fighting 15s instead. Okay, so those are going to go for sale. All right, let's go ahead and clean these off to see what they look like once I clean them off. I wound up not doing the aircraft like I thought I was going to do today. What am I doing? What's going on here? But that's okay. I can do the aircraft at any time. There's no rush. The NashCon game that's coming up in August, I'm in the morning session. So the first session on Saturday. If you're interested and you want to play Battle Group, come do that. The year after, I'm planning on running a game of Napoleonics, most likely Quatre Bras, using my rules. So I'm working on getting my rules finished. All right, we turn this over. We give it the tap, the love tap. A couple of things that I just want to share. Okay, one of them was I did order the Soldiers of Napoleon rule set. It comes with a set of cards. These cards, I think it's going to be a lot like Battle Group in that they are going to represent morale, but they're also activities, I think, or something. I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. I think a card system is way better than a chit system. Got that stone. Okay, so we're going to set him off to the side. Yeah, what do you think? What do you think? Does that look good? That looks probably a little too grassy. What do you think? Yeah, there's no ruts. There is back here on the back of this thing. And I'm using a makeup brush, a 1 inch, or is this? It says 3/4. Maybe, but it looks like a 1 inch. Looks like it's a 1.5 inch, but you know. Makeup brushes. Okay, yeah, something. Last night I ordered a file set. I have to show you my file. When I was doing that commission over there, I was using my modeling file, right, to file the bottoms to make them flat, and knowing that I've got an entire Quatre Bras army, French and Allied, really 2-3 armies I'm going to be doing. I need a better file. That file is too thin. It's only about 10 millimeters wide, and what I found myself doing was falling off of the models. Even though those are 18 millimeter, I'm sitting here filing, and the file would go burp, burp, or I'd go to the other side, and then I'd file myself, So I decided to get a file set that included a wide file. I want size matters. I want it girthy. So yeah, so I got a file set. Now it comes with some micro files, round files, triangles, squares, all kinds of different files. But really, I only got it for the one wide file. No, that's not true. I got it for two reasons. I got it for the wide file and the file brush. There's a cleaning brush. It's just a wire brush, but it was included in the kit. So I said, okay, yeah, that works for me. I thought about ordering these diamond files. There were some diamond files that were actually cheaper, but when I looked at it, they looked like it was a piece of metal with like diamond powder glued to it. So it looked like sandpaper, on a metal file. And that would probably be okay for models. I think it would be great for like plastics. But I wanted a real metal file. I wanted something that I could sink my teeth into. Get the joke? Okay. But that wasn't all. What else did I order? I ordered some Old Glory British and French and some Guard cavalry. I actually ordered some 28 millimeter Prussians from, oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, but I ordered some 28 millimeter Prussians from Gripping Beast, from Front Rank, the Front Rank models that Gripping Beast is now selling. Hopefully, the quality of the models are as good as the original Front Ranks, because Front Rank was super good quality, good metal, good thick metal. If it's like that, then I'll probably order some more of that. But I just ordered these Prussians mainly so I can, they're really only the command stands, so that I can put some Prussian reservists on the channel. Because I noticed there were some Prussian players out there that were asking for it. Also, if you don't know this, I'd recommend checking it out. Noble Knight. I don't know if any of you guys shop at Noble Knight Games. I don't do a whole lot of shopping there. I do sometimes, like for my Zeiston models, and maybe a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Okay, what's going on here? A little bit of piece of paper. You don't belong on a base. Okay. Could have been a newspaper, I guess. Could have put some words on it, make it look like a newspaper. No, they're having a clearance sale. I got an email saying they're clearing out a bunch of junk. So I went on there and I looked and I said, what do I like? Well, most of it I don't like. Most of it is like 10% off, no big deal. I'm not going to order something. I'm not going to go out of my way to order something that I don't need for 10% off. But if it's 50% off or even 40% off, I might order something I don't need. You know what I mean? Just because I could paint it up and put it on the channel or something like that. So I looked around and I did see that they had some Essex models. They had some alternate armies, 15 millimeter Napoleonics. You know, they had some ancients. I didn't get any ancients though. They had some 28 millimeter World War II from a variety of different manufacturers. And these prices were really good. They had some Australians, if you can believe that. And so I got some Australians. I just ordered quite a bit. Not a whole lot, but just enough to get free shipping, which I think is $150. If you order $150, you get free shipping. So I should be getting that in. Oh, in that, they were selling, I don't know if they had one copy or multiple copies, but Land of the Free, which is a very strong, highly recommended American War of Independence rules set. I'm getting some of my ideas for my game from Land of the Free. And if you're interested, basically, I'm taking some ideas from Battle Group, Land of the Free, Black Powder. Those three games are influencing my rule set that I'm writing. Just so you know. And Land of the Free is probably the biggest influence. Yeah, it probably is the biggest influence. I've got a oh, that's not true. I'm looking at Ethsan's resultants right here. ESR. ESR is probably the least influence, but it is part of the influence. This is Land of the Free. Whoops. And I already have a copy of this. Obviously, you see it in my hands. But they had a clearance sale, like I was talking about. And they had this game as part of their clearance. So I went ahead and ordered it. It says that it retails for $34.95. I think they're selling it for $15. So if you're interested, if they have multiple copies, I don't know how many copies they had, but I ordered one. Something I wanted to point out. Again, this is a North America war game rules for North America, American War of Independence. But that's also not true. Not true. This goes from 1754, think French and Indian War, all the way to 1815. That's the end of the Napoleonic period. So this goes from French and Indian, just like Black Powder. Black Powder covers multiple eras. This covers multiple eras. I know it's specifically, American War of Independence, and it's really designed for that, and that's kind of the feeling you get when you play this. But they include scenarios. French and Indian War. Okay. Let's keep going forward. American Revolutionary War. A lot of scenarios for French and Indian War. American Revolution. Because why? Because that's the reason. Northwest Indian War. Okay. The War of 1812, which they say goes from 12 to 15, right? So, if you were to think about this, what else was going on in 1812? Or even 1809, 1808, 1800s, 1792. That's all Napoleonic period. So the British battalions in this era would be basically the same British that were in Waterloo, right? Like 1814. They got Pittsburgh, Battle of New Orleans, January 8, 1815. '95th Rifles, 44th Regiment of Foot, 24th Scots Fusiliers, and then a bunch of light dragoons and others. And then what's this here? The 3rd Regiment of West Tennessee Militia. Wow, okay, hold on. Major General William Carroll's brigade has the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Regiment of West Tennessee. And 2 batteries of French. Wait, what the hell is this? Lieutenant Samuel Spots, 12-pound battery, 6-pounders. What? Oh, maybe it's just number 6. Okay, 12-pound battery, number 6. Because right below it, it's got General Carrigue Flujac, probably a Cajun, 18-pound battery, number 7. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so half of this book is scenarios, and the other half is rules, and the majority of the rules is command and control. That's one reason why I like this. But it's also not complete. I like these rules, but they're not complete. In my eyes, I need better, like, before we close out the video, I just kind of want to share a couple of things. I think I'm going to take command and control from Land of the Free. I think I'm going to take morale and how armies are defeated and things like that from Battle Group, or maybe Soldiers of Napoleon, depending on how that author changed it for Napoleonic Wars. I'm going to read it and we're going to see if I like it or not. But Battle Group rules I love for army morale, the randomness, the chit drawing, the random penalties, and also events. I like that idea. And then, but the combat, the piece in the middle, the combat and the piece in the middle is probably going to be a variation of Land of the Free and Black Powder. It's going to be kind of a conglomeration of those. So yeah, I'm going to take the best of these multiple rule sets and make a coherent rules. Okay. Another thought that I had, I want to share all this with you while I have you online, or while I have my camera on record. I thought about this the other day. Why? Right? I've got a book over here called something about war game design, like, yeah, it might even be this one. I've got Campaigning with the Duke of Wellington and by Featherstone, right? And then I've got the Waterloo Campaign and all that. But there was a book, I don't know where I got it, Wargaming by Featherstone, another Wargaming by Featherstone, Blundering to Glory, if you guys haven't read this book, if you haven't read this book, And They Rode On, right? It's not a very thick book. You can see it's only like maybe 10 pages. No, how big is it? It's about 100 pages, approximately. By Michael Mann. I strongly recommend this book. I got this book for £11. I don't know how much it is nowadays. I think it was originally £8, but it was published in 1815. No, it was published in 1984. No, yeah, 1984. And it was printed by Spartan Press. Great Britain or whatever. I would recommend getting it. It talks about Quatre Bras, talks about Waterloo. There's a few personal accounts in here, not many, but it's written in a way that it's like it's a personal account, but it's like he took a bunch of personal accounts and made it one actor, one character. And it's mainly a cavalry officer, and it goes through how he lands on Europe from England, how he travels cross country, how they have to quarter their troops and feed their horses, and they actually have people that collect the manure, and then they take the manure to the farmers and they trade them the manure for food, because they want to buy the food and not just take it, but so they trade the horse manure, which apparently is great fertilizer. It goes into stuff like that I'm like, wow, didn't even think about stuff like that. But I recommend that book 100%. Okay, I don't know why I got onto a tangent, but what was I going to say? I was talking about the wargaming design. Yeah, I've read a few books about designing war games. I even watched a seminar on a guy designing a role-playing game, which I can take that as inspiration as well. My point is, or what I'm trying to get at, and I'll probably go over this as well during my updates, but since I got you online, that's why I wanted to make sure I'm just sharing it, and plus I'm just vocalizing it so that maybe it'll help me remember it, and I'll basically beat it into my own brain. Don't put a rule in the game that doesn't need to be in the game, right? Don't add complexity just for the sake of having an extra rule. As an example, I was thinking about this. I was really crunching numbers and figuring out odds. And when it comes to command and control, right? I've got my corps commander, I've got my division commander, I've got my brigade commanders, I've got my units, and then I've got a list of orders that they can do. Why? Why do I have all that? Why not just say they can do whatever they want to do, right? Okay. if I roll a d6 for a brigade commander, and that's how many units get to act, why? Why? I'm going to constantly be asking myself, why? Why I feel like I'm a 1-year-old, or maybe a 2-year-old. We'll call me a 2-year-old. Why am I making him roll? Why not just let them all act? Why not give him like Napoleon's battles, why not give him a command range, an area of effect, or a area of, as Land of the Free calls it, an area of influence? If you're in the area of influence, why not just act? Why make them roll? And the reason why I ask this question is because every time you ask a player to roll a die for any reason, it slows the game down. Only by seconds. So, I'm going to activate this battalion. Okay, go ahead. I'm going to roll my die. Let me get a die. Let me shake on it. Let's blow on it. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's roll a cocked die. Now I got to re-roll it. Boom. Now, okay, I got my 5. How many units you got in that brigade? 4. So why did we go through that whole process of rolling a die when they're all going to get to act anyway? Now, if I rolled 1 or a 2 or a 3, they wouldn't have all gotten to act. But then I've got my division commander that can give him an extra command point, so they all will get to act. So why make the division commander roll a d3, mark, okay, once I got it, now I got to mark them with command points. Then I got to go to the brigade, I got to roll him, and then I got to issue orders and maybe take an order off of the brigade or the division commander to move the units. Why go through that? Why jump through those hoops? Why not just say everybody gets to act? Well, the flip side of that is I don't want everybody to act. My point is I am thinking about every rule obsessively. Like, I'll sit here for a week or 2. I've been sitting here for probably 2 weeks working on just something as simple as command and control. And I'm still not finished because I haven't written all the orders yet. I'm trying to decide if I want to give everybody a free move. If you're in the area of influence, give you 1 free movement, including the officer. Everybody within his area of influence will get 1 free move, and then on top of that, roll the d6, and you can issue orders to those battalions. And I'm thinking 2 shots, 2 additional moves, which would give me a total of 3 moves, right? The 1 free and then the 2 additional. So I would get, if you issue them order, they would get 3 total moves. That's going through my head too. But then I'm thinking, why? Why not just say, if they receive an order, they get to move 3 times. If they don't, they don't. Well, or I am thinking that the commanders move, if all they're going to do is move, they should get a 1 single move, and it's big. Give them like 20 inches or something crazy like that. Maybe not 20. Maybe, I don't know what. I'll have to measure it all on the table, but give commanders a free move. But if they want to do something else, they have to be given an order just like everyone else. Like rally or inspiring speech, or those are the only two things I can think of, but maybe there's others that I can kind of figure out. And I can't, I already know I can't do all the orders that I want to issue until I work out how I want to do combat. Because if I want combat to be a single die roll, then does giving a fire order allowing them to shoot twice, does that mean they just roll 2 dice? Or does that mean they roll 1 die on this unit, and if they destroy it, they can roll 1 die on that unit? Is it a boom boom, or is it a boom double shot? And then do I even want to give them 2 shots? What's the reason why I want to give them 2 shots? Because why don't they just move and shoot like in every other game? You know? And I think what I am going to do, it's just things that I've gone through. I think that if I move and shoot, they'll get a minus. And then if they shoot twice, they get to shoot, they just stand there and shoot twice. There's no minuses because they're not shooting on the movement, right? They're not running and shooting. There is a rule in Land of the Free that I don't want to. It seems easy, but it also seems complicated. You got 2 types of movement, or 2 types. Let me back that up. You got 2 types of order. You got movement orders, and then you've got combat orders. And every unit can do a number of orders. They can do both. And I think it said like 4 movement orders, 4 combat orders for most units, or 3 and 3 or something like that, which is pretty high. To me, that's way too high. But one of the movement orders is reload. Okay. If you make your battalions reload, which I don't want to do, then they can shoot with a combat order, reload with a movement order, shoot with a combat order, reload with a movement order, then shoot with a combat order, and reload with a movement order. So if they stand still, they can actually shoot 3 times. But if they move once, twice, or 3 times, they can't shoot because they would have shot, move, 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 or move, 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 and shot. Now you got to mark them with a unloaded marker. They said they use cotton balls, put a little cotton piece on top of the unit, saying that he needs to reload. That's what I'm trying to get away from. I don't want to micromanage the battalions. In Land of the Free, that's okay. I think that's really okay because you're dealing with a very small battlefield. You only got like maybe a division on the table. You don't have a whole corps or 2 corps on the table. But because I'm going to have a corps or 2 corps on the table, I don't want to go through and keep track of what battalions are reloaded and which ones aren't. So I'm going to artificially limit them on how many times they get to shoot based on the order they're given. So if they're given a stand there and shoot, I'm going to let them shoot 2 or 3 times. I don't know. But if they're given a move order, I'm going to let them move like 3 times. And then if they get a move and shoot, how would that work? That would be shot, reload, shot, move. Right, hold on. Shot, reload, move. Move. Shot. So what I'm thinking is they can move twice and shoot once on a move and shoot. They can move 3 times, they can shoot 3 times, or they can move twice and shoot once. I don't think I want to have a 2-shot, 1 move option. Because I think it might even just be a move and shot. Yeah, 3 moves, 3 shots, or a move and shoot. So you only get 2 basic, it penalizes your movement and it penalizes your shooting if you move and shoot. Where if you just stand there and shoot, you get that extra die because you're not moving. And if you move, you get that extra move because, yeah, I think I'm going to do it that way. I think I've just solved my issue. 3, 2, 3. That's what I'm going to do. And there's other things you can do. We'll have to figure it out, like limber and unlimber and stuff like that. But any of those move options can be limbering or unlimbering. Doesn't have to be physically moving. It could also be changing formations. So let's say I'm in march column, or not march column, but let's say I'm in an attack column, and I give them a maneuver order, which is movement and shooting. They will, at that point, they'll only get 2, one's move, one's shooting, and that 1 move could be change formation into line, and then they can shoot. Or if you give them the march, or I think I'm going to call it march, or double time. I might call it double time. They'll get 3 moves. 2 of them can be inches, and 1 can be change formation. Or if I have a artillery piece, I can unlimber and shoot. Or if the cannon is just sitting there, unlimbered, it can shoot 3 times. Boom, boom, boom. Which all that means is they're shooting and reloading and shooting and reloading and shooting and reloading is really what they're doing. And because guns aren't going to get that many dice to roll anyway, it's not like it's a huge bonus to them. Well, it is going to be a huge bonus, but it's not going to be devastating to have a cannon shoot 3 times, is what I'm trying to say. It will be better than only shooting once, but I think I'm going to give each half battery a die, just like I do the companies. They each get, each stand in the front gets a die. So like I'll get 3 dice when I shoot. The cannons are only going to get 2 dice when they shoot. They'll have a much further range. And they probably won't be modified as much as the infantry. They might be deadly, and if they shoot 3 times, that's like 6 dice. Where if the infantry shoot, they'll have like 9 dice. But it'll be a much shorter range. I haven't got that far. Haven't figured it out. All right, guys. Well, it is almost 2 o'clock. We've been here since 11. Thank you guys for coming out and checking out this live stream. Be sure to check out more videos on my channel. I do have some plastic soldier models that I have recently gotten in that I have not filmed a what's in the box on them yet, but I will soon. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow night, I don't know. But over the next few days, I'm going to film some what's in the boxes. 15 millimeter, 20 millimeter World War II plastic kits from Plastic Soldier Company. Some of the ones that I haven't done. That's something I got to worry about. Is my brain is starting to fail. I need to make a list of all of the what's in the boxes that I've already done, so I don't duplicate them. So I don't do a what's in the box for something that I've already looked in. Because I'll start filming, I'll open it up, and I'll say, wait, didn't I already do this box? Okay. Now, I did some open box reviews long time ago that were not part of my what's in the box series. I might relabel them as what's in the box and move them over to the playlist what's in the box. I might, and I think I've already done this, changed my playlist to what's in the box /bag, because I want to also show you guys, oh man, this reminds me, this is the reason why, okay. I also want to show you what's inside my Old Glory bags, like when I open them up, what you actually get. But I just ordered from Old Glory? Yeah, I think it was Old Glory. There's two Old Glories. One is Old Glory 15s, and then there's another one called Old Glory Miniatures. Old Glory, this is the same company, they separated. One focuses on the 15 millimeter models, and the other one focuses on the larger models. They had some battalion bags of 28 millimeter models. So I ordered them for my store, to paint and get up on the store. And I want to see what quality they have. I think I ordered some Peninsula British, maybe some Prussians, maybe some French. I don't remember. But they seemed like a good deal. We'll see if it's worth my while. They're coming in. I got them coming. All right, guys. Again, thank you for checking out the channel, and I will see you next week.